Okay, it's late afternoon in January in Texas. Weather's warm, but it's windy. And we're going to solder the Staybolts on our shade locomotive boiler, gauge 1 modification of Kozo Hiraoka's larger scale design. And I just lit my propane torch. It's a 2943 Sievert nozzle, and I've got propane pressure at 40 pounds. I'm going to start out slowly, warming up the whole boiler assembly. I need to get the whole boiler warm so that the silver solder melts at about the same time as the copper is hot. I want to bring the copper and the silver solder to the melting temperature about the same time. The way to do that is to keep heating the whole assembly, get the whole assembly pretty warm so it doesn't drain off the heat from the copper. I've got other photos on Flickr that show my setup. This video is zoomed way in, so you can maybe watch some of the action at as the solder begins to melt. I still don't have the torch turned up very high. I'm just kind of warming things up, making sure that any water is burned off. Just turned up the torch a little more. I've got some steel deflecting the flame away from the mud ring, and I also have steel pieces deflecting the flame away inside the firebox here. The flame gets deflected away from the door and from the smoke tubes. We don't want to damage those joints. I judge a lot by the color of the copper under the flame and the appearance of the flux. Right now the flux is white and dry, and I'm starting to see some coloration as I move the flame around. At a later stage, the flux will melt and get kind of clear, and some of the copper will start looking dark, like scale formation. We're getting closer to where the flux can start to melt. I'm really focusing the heat all around the Staybolts, working on the assembly. You can see under the torch, you get a flesh, a baby skin color, a copper tone, right? And you move the torch away and it gets darker. That shows you you're getting a little warmer. Turn it. You can see I kept the flame on the Staybolts for some considerable length of time after the solder had melted and after it had pretty much spread. And this is like a soak or dwell time. Makes sure that the solder is really getting around to the flux surfaces, displacing the flux from the metal. It's an important step. You know, you don't just cut the flame off when things are first melted and the joints are wet. You want to soak it in, you know, however long you saw. Make sure that solder really got around, really penetrated under those heads. Make sure everything was warm enough. And I'm pretty pleased with the appearance. When I was using the scratch rod, this one Staybolt moved. So there's a nut below. Apparently I didn't have that one as tight. But I think that you know, there's sufficient solder underneath that head, and we've got a good seal. And I'll make sure when I solder the inside to really tighten down the nuts on the threaded posts. So again, this is the second outside set of Staybolts I've soldered, and I'm basically pleased with the quality of the job and the spread of the solder. Looks pretty good. I'm going to come around behind the camera and see what it looks like, and if we're not getting a good view of the heads, I'm going to come around. Well, let's go ahead.